My guest today is Detective Constable Rita Raj with Vancouver Police Department, and she is here in our studios to talk about the second annual Seniors Health and Safety Fair, which is taking place on June the 8th. So thank you so much, Detective Raj, for coming into the studio and talking about the Health and Safety Fair.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Kamilla.
Talk a little bit about, very briefly introduce yourself, since when you have got involved in here, and I know this is the second one you guys are doing.
Sure. My name is Rita Raj. I'm a detective constable with the Vancouver Police Department's Major Crime Section. We started this initiative in 2018. We executed our first fair in 2018. It was very well received by the community. We had over 40 nonprofit organizations as well as police representatives, and we had a great attendance at that event. So we had one planned for 2020. We had to postpone it due to the pandemic, but we're back, and this is our second annual Senior Health and Safety Fair that is scheduled for June 8th, which is next Wednesday, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Creekside Community Center, which is located at 1 Athletes Way. It's an Olympic Village.
So people are asking me, who is it for? Who should be attending this fair?
So it's open to the senior demographic, their families, their caregivers, any support agencies. Everybody is welcome. There's no registration that is required. It's a free event to the public, and everyone's welcome to come any time between 10 and 4 p.m. and come and go as you please.
Mm-hmm. And you can register on the same day of the fair.
There won't be any registration. You'll come. We'll have a table set up at the front, and if the first 300 people will be giving swag bags too, so we'll have some conversation at the table, but there's no registration required even upon attendance.
And you also have a huge display of organizations that serve the seniors, so they can talk to them, they can stop, they can talk, and pick up the freebies that they are giving out.
Absolutely. So it's a one-stop information gathering experience without the pressure of purchasing anything. We will have approximately 34 community partners in attendance, as well as police representation that we'll have booths set up throughout the Creekside Community Center, and they will be discussing various topics with the seniors related to their health and safety.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you, Detective, do you think this kind of a health and safety fair is needed in the community? Because with all the kinds of scam that has happened with the seniors, and I think bringing awareness and education is very, very important, so that seniors are aware of. You know how they said, okay, oh, your son is in a car accident and we need to have this much money and I'm going to come get the money or something like that. So many seniors have been ripped off financially.
Absolutely. So we will have detectives from our financial crime unit as well as elder abuse unit, and we will be at our major crime section, and we will be doing presentations on what you need to look out for. We'll be providing tips and information on how to be aware of the scams and to recognize when you are being victimized. So we'll have presentations scheduled from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on various topics throughout the day, and this is one of our main goals, is to relay that information to our senior demographic.
And some of the seniors have asked me, what about the language? If they don't understand English, is there a second language, or what different languages you're going to have so that they know what they are talking about, or be able to translators?
That's an excellent question. So we will have Cantonese, Mandarin, Hindi, and Punjabi speaking officers in attendance that will be available for translations. All our presentations will be outfitted with translators, so we will ensure that if the presentation is in English, but we will have translators available, not just throughout the presentations, but throughout the fair as well, at the booths and just walking around.
Mm-hmm. And maybe also this may be an opportunity to talk to the detectives that are there. They may not be able to talk to you because they have to entertain everybody, but they can call you later if you have any one-to-one question or something like that.
Absolutely. By attending, there will be a greater understanding by families, their care home support agencies regarding safety issues, the issues facing the senior community, how to respond and prevent these situations of vulnerability. It also gives us the opportunity to interact on a one-on-one or group basis with seniors and provide them with the imperative tools and information to increase their safety, Kamilla. So we encourage participants to attend. The knowledge and awareness around health and safety issues affecting them on a daily basis, and they'll be able to gain access to service providers and who will be able to guide them or provide them with information regarding what they're dealing with.
And also, this is not only open for the people living in Vancouver, but is open for outside of Vancouver. People living in Burnaby, New West, and Surrey, everybody can attend.
Absolutely, it's open to anybody. I know that I received a lot of phone calls with that question, actually. It doesn't matter if you're from Surrey, Delta, Vancouver, Burnaby, everybody is welcome.
Okay, so you want to give your contact numbers so those people that are watching you now, they be able to talk to you, or if they get lost or something.
Absolutely. So if there's like I said, there's no registration required, but if you have any questions or you have a large group or a bus of people coming, you can call me and let me know so that we can try to assess how many numbers we're going to have. So my contact information is, I can be reached by email at rita.raj@vpd.ca or 604-787-3356.
Thank you so much, Detective Raj. Be able to come and educate our viewers. And I'm going to come. I'll be there. So I look forward to seeing you. And those people that are watching today, hope you can come and bring your elderly mom, dad, or whoever. Or even if they are unable to come, you can come and gather all the information and share it with your elderly parents at home. This is very, very important.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
My guest for the show today is Rizwan Abbas, and he's archaeologist. And he's been here before, but today I invited him to talk about something very, very important, to find out, to let the people know who he is. He also has a display, Fiji display at the museum that ran for over 6 months at the Surrey Museum. So I think the display is no longer there, but he is also got involved in writing a chapter in the book, which he's here to talk about. And for those of you that are watching Kamilla Singh show, welcome abroad. And if you know of a person that we should highlight on Kamilla Singh show, please let us know. And we'll be more than happy to be able to profile you in here. And this show is all about you. So welcome, sir.
Thank you, Kamilla. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. So how are you? How has life been?
It's been great. It's been quite busy actually since the exhibit opened almost just over a year ago. It's been fairly busy. I mean, meeting lots of people, meeting yourself, and many members of the community. It's been a wonderful experience.
Right. So you have put your display away. Was it just for one time, or can you do that again?
Well, the exhibit was hugely successful.
Yes, yeah.
It was originally it was supposed to be at the Museum of Surrey for about 4 months, and they extended it for 4 more months. So it just ended last month.
Yes.
I do have all the artifacts and all the items. So I'm looking at a couple of other places to display the exhibit again. If there's anybody who's interested, of course, give me a call. We can do the display. But there's the South Asian Museum actually of Canada in Ontario that I'm looking at, and I have some relatives and some friends in Calgary that were really interested in wanting to do an exhibit there to have representation. So there's a couple of things in the works that I have going on right now, yeah.
And you are also working full time.
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm an archaeologist with the Semiahmoo First Nation.
Yes.
So I've been working with them for about a year now.
That's excellent. This
you.
is excellent. How is it? How is your experience working with the First Nations people? Because all the time you always work somewhere else, and not that many people of color try to work with them or are employed by them.
Yeah, that's very very true. I worked in corporate world for quite a long time. Most of my career has been working in the corporate world. So, working with the First Nations, I get to work on the other side of the page for a change. And to be honest with you, it's a very fulfilling job. To be able to be a caretaker of the heritage and history of First Nations people is something that's really dear to me. Being an archaeologist and studying my own history, I'm able to firsthand be able to study the heritage and history of the First Nations people side by side with them on their reservations, and it's nice to have the archaeology and the history and the culture be the most important thing, as opposed to business, as it was in the business world. So it's something that is very dear to me.
And I think I would not say as an outsider, I will call it an outsider not from the culture, that if we go into their culture and learn about their culture and their history, there are so many similarities with our own culture and who we are too,
Yes.
right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of the counselors at Semiahmoo First Nation, my boss, when she found out that I was of Fijian background, she was actually quite excited, because she has some friends, some native, some indigenous Fijian friends of hers, and they have a lot of similarities. The indigenous Fijians and the indigenous First Nations people here are very similar. Their canoe culture, they have been in this land for thousands of years, and they have a connection with the land, and that's something that they've connected with very well. But that's where the connections stop. After that, if you notice that the First Nations people here are still marginalized by the government, and they're still trying to fight for their own rights. That's something that we share as Indo-Fijians. We share with the First Nations people. It's something that we're still trying to fight for, our own rights and our own place of belonging, whether it be in Fiji or abroad. So that's something that we've come to kind of be. Well, it's a similarity that we share.
Mm-hmm. A lot of similarities, yes. And I think they do Lobo and all that. Yeah, you are very right when you are they are connected with the Aboriginal Fijians, like native Fijians.
Yeah.
So they share the land and they do Lobos and things like that.
Yeah.
When our ambassador was here, he went and visited their land, and he was welcomed there and served with Lobo and all that. Yeah, it was Fijians, not Indo-Fijian, our native Fijians and the First Nations.
Yeah.
So it was a real beautiful history, like, how they take upon themselves to be able to welcome our people on their land too.
Yeah, what we're trying to do right now with the Semiahmoo First Nation and with native Fijians in Fiji actually is try to do a canoe exchange. So we're trying to trade canoes just as a kind of cultural exchange at the moment. So that's something that the ball is rolling right now. And so
And it
hopefully
will
we'll have
take time.
Yeah.
I think the election is coming there. They're more focused on the elections in Fiji. So talk a little bit about this chapter that you
Yeah.
have been asked to write, and the book is now published now.
Yeah.
So talk about the whole book first.
Sure. Well, right from the beginning, actually, when the exhibit was accepted at the Museum of Surrey, the committee that chose my exhibit actually called me up afterwards. One of the members of the committee called me up afterwards and asked me to contribute a chapter for this upcoming social history book on South Asians in British Columbia, and the chapter about our culture and heritage, Indo-Fijian culture and heritage. And to be honest, it was a very humbling request. I'm very humbled to have the opportunity to do this and write this, and to have this chapter published. And the book itself actually is about the history of South Asians, not just from India, but from the rest of the diaspora as well, and how they came to British Columbia and how they made British Columbia a home. Some of the stories are are personal stories. Some of the chapters are historic recollections of some of the historic events that have happened. So there's a mix of everything in this book. It's not, and there's also poems in this book. There's stories. There's academic writing. There's songs. There's very many things. It's a great tabletop book for people to look through.
So you wrote, your chapter is chapter 9 in the book. I just seen very briefly, I haven't read it. How many chapters are altogether? So that will give me how many different nationalities or people that are South Asian that are contributed.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's take a look. Got the book here.
Yeah.
Brought the book with me.
Yes, it's a beautiful book.
So it's quite
it's a heavy book.
It's actually broken into 3 different categories.
I
so there's 19 chapters in total.
Okay.
The first section is about migration and the actual moving of people around the world, from India throughout the rest of the world, finally getting to British Columbia. Identity is the section about belonging and finding our own. That's where my chapter is on, about identity and self-identifying. And the last one is about policy and legacy. So there's different sections with the 19 different chapters, and they talk about many different things.
Very wonderful, yeah. So is this book selling now?
The book actually is not up for sale just yet, but you can download a free copy, a PDF copy if you like, online. If you search South Asian Studies Institute at the University of the Fraser Valley, you can find the book there. But I'm not exactly sure when. The editor went on vacation, a well-deserved vacation after the book was published.
After the book was published.
So when she does come back into town, we'll have more information about when the book will be up for sale.
Oh, because like I say, that is a history that it should not be missed out. It's not our history. I think it's a history of our people.
Yes.
When we call it brown South Asian people, our people, then I think that way it also shows the settlement of them in Canada. That's one part of it. The second thing is where they come from and how was everything for them there, where they come from. Whether they are Guyanese, they are Trinidadians, or you name it.
Yeah.
There are so many different people that look alike. They sometimes eat alike and talk alike, but altogether, sometimes the language is lost there. Yes. Actually, with the Fijians, we must give credit to our elders that they maintain the language. But one more thing, when we talk about the language, maintaining our culture and history, we have maintained our language, our culture, our religious values, your rituals and everything. But I find working in this community, as a Fijian community, I have been in here doing a lot of work in here too. The next generation here will be losing all that because either parents, I'm a grandparents, or my children, not interested to teach their children that whatever we have told them. So eventually, another generation, there will be nothing.
Yeah. Well, we as Indo-Fijians are lucky because our culture is only about 143 years old.
Yes.
So it's fairly young. Excuse me. A lot of people call Fiji Little India for that very reason, because we have retained a lot of the culture and language and history. Whereas if you take, for example, some of the other diasporas in the world, the Indian diasporas in the world, they've been around in those countries for far, far longer than we have. And they've done a very good job of mixing into the culture of those countries, whereas we in Fiji have not done that. And I am afraid that in Canada eventually we will lose that identity. But the way for us to retain it is to first identify our culture and be able to identify what it is that makes us unique, or what unique aspects of our culture belong to us. If we can identify that, like our language or our food or some of our rites and rituals that we do, then we can do a better job of retaining those things with a little bit more pride, and knowing that this is special, it's special to us because of these reasons, because our ancestors, our Girmitia ancestors, were resilient enough to keep these things intact so they could pass it on to us. And the fact that we're here today as Indo-Fijians in Canada is something that's a testament to our Girmitia ancestors and their resiliency to pass these things on. So we should take it as our duty to not forget that, and to pass those lessons on to our future generations, and make sure they don't forget the lessons that were taught to our ancestors.
You have pointed a very important point and talked about the Girmitia. Not very long ago, it was a Girmitia Day, which was May 14th.
Yeah.
And I have seen you at that event one time. It was a small gathering, and you talk about the history. Do you think there are enough people in here, or even not has to be young, the youth, like my age or younger than us? Do we care about what Girmit Day means to our people, to our history?
We should. It's important for us to remember. Now, one of the things that I personally think, and I see this all, and the Fijian government did this as well actually, is they had a Girmit Day celebration.
Yes.
And I, for one, take not offense, but I just kind of I'm not very comfortable with celebrating Girmit, because there's nothing.
It's not a celebration.
There's not a celebration.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people say it like that because it's so easy to say Girmit instead of any other word, because it's our word. It's exclusively the word Girmit is an Indo-Fijian word that when you say it, you know you're talking about indentured laborers in
Yes.
Fiji. So people think that if you can use the word, we can use the word however we like.
Yeah.
But in reality, Girmit was something that broke us.
Yes.
Girmit was something that changed the people from who they were to who we are now.
Yeah.
But the change wasn't made by Girmit itself. It was the people, it was the Girmitias that made the changes.
The Girmitias are, we call the people.
Yes.
During that time. They were bought from India to work on indigenous system or on plantation.
Yes.
So I think this history, if we don't keep repeating ourselves, and you are very right, agree with you, it's not to be celebrated. There's nothing to be celebrated. Think about November 11th,
Yeah,
right?
Remembrance Day.
First Remembrance Day, First World War, Second World War, every World War after that. We are not celebrating, we are observing that day.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Girmitia Day or Girmit Day, whatever we want to call it,
Yeah.
has to be observed
Right.
to pay tribute
Yeah.
to our forefathers and the people, the first settlers of Fiji who came and dug and make Fiji what Fiji is today.
That's right. There was a post on social media I had heard once regarding May 14th and how it's observed as Girmit Day, and it's also the day that the first coup happened in 1987. And this lady had put a post up and said that you can't compare the two.
No.
Because ek banai la chiche and ek bigare la chiche, meaning one thing is to create and the other is to destroy.
Destroy, yes.
But in reality, they both destroyed.
Both are destroyed.
They both destroyed.
Yeah.
And that's a day that we can observe. We can observe both events because they were both somber events. We
Yeah.
lost people's lives. People's lives were changed, and they were affected us
Yes.
specifically. So I do believe that May 14th is a better day to observe in solemn remembrance than it is as a celebration. Now, of course, with that being said, there is a day that I think that is a celebratory day that we do and we should celebrate. January 1st. January 1st, 1920 was the day of our emancipation, and every single Girmit was canceled. If I say if there's any day to celebrate, that would be the day that we should celebrate.
And as far as I remember, you're the first person, because I have been part of this media for a while, and I keep my eyes and ears open all the time to see where is academia about the history and Fijians. I'm a diehard Fijian, as you are, your dad were, and your dad was. So we cannot forget our history.
Right.
Because if you don't know who we are, you don't have your own identity, then jise bolene ki pendi ke lota, you just don't fit anywhere.
Yeah.
So we have a foundation. We have to maintain the foundation.
Yeah.
We need to acknowledge the foundation. We have to share the foundation with our younger generation and all that. Only then you are who you are,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't matter how many generations I live in Canada. I am a proud Canadian because this land has allowed me to grow and sky's the limit in this country.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm not going to be able to change my color and become a white. No. I will always going to be a brown. My family is going to be brown. They're never going to. So if you are that, why not maintain who you are? Why are you running away from your identity? People that lost identity, they don't belong anywhere. They are just kind of lost in the ocean, kind of.
Yeah, a lot of people come to me and say things along the same lines, where we're not Fijian enough to be considered Fijian, and we're not Indian enough to be considered from India. And of course, if we walk into a room in Canada, you can tell that we're not the same Canadians like everybody else. And we feel kind of lost, and we feel like we don't have a place in this world. But we do. Maybe not having a place is the place that we belong at this point in time. But identifying our culture, identifying the fact that we don't belong anywhere, will find us the people that we belong with. And that's one of the best things about this whole journey that I've started is finding people, like-minded people of our community that want to help perpetuate our culture, get the knowledge out there for our future generations, and to make sure that it doesn't get lost. And it's so important for not just for our future generations, but for our past as well.
What's next for you?
I don't quite know yet. I think I've been in talks with the New Zealand Girmit Association. The Fiji Girmit Association of New Zealand.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think I would like to start here in Canada.
Yes.
Is a Canadian Girmit. Well, if I do it, I will call it the Canadian Girmitia Association, because I want it to be about our ancestors, not about Girmit.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is to make sure that people keep knowledge of our history, and make sure we never forget the sacrifices that our ancestors made.
Yeah.
Like you had said, that May 14th is one of the days that it should be observed. It's a Remembrance Day. Like we should have a moment of silence for all the people that we've lost, and it's important that people know why we do that. A lot of the other countries, Australia and New Zealand, they're so far forward from us in these regards, because there's so much closer ties with Fiji.
Yeah, very closer.
And it's so much easier for them to have this tie. But they had said a long time ago, and this association in New Zealand is about 10 years old now.
Yeah.
And they said a long time ago that they were not going to mourn, they were not going to cry, they were not going to be sad about what happened. But you can't forget it, though.
Yeah,
you still have to acknowledge it.
Yes,
You still have
yeah.
to know that these people went through a lot of hardship for us to be where we are. So hopefully we'll have another Girmitia association here, and we'll do events, and January 1st is another one of the Emancipation Day that we should have a celebration too.
I have thought about it myself,
Yeah.
and I said it's very easy for us to forget that day.
Yeah.
So a younger generation, because I'm not so much about educating us. We have a choice to pick up the book, go to the library, do reading and all that. But for the younger generation, I would like to keep that alive. So where our parents or grandparents and people, our generation has come from. So that is a very good, we should not lose the focus, and we can talk about it. But thank you so much for coming in and talking the insight about the book, about where you started, and you are not stopping anywhere anytime soon. And we shall continue where we left off today, and then move on to talk about Girmitia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
So with that, I think we're running out of time, but if you like to be on that seat and talk about your passion or what you have done or what you like to do, you are most welcome on Kamilla Singh Show. Thank you for watching Kamilla Singh Show, and thank you. Bye for now.